What's up, everybody? I'm comedian Michael Huckabee, and this is the Messed Up to Setups podcast. Today in the house with me, comedian Tommy Morin. This dude's been on Drybar, he's been on Huckabee, he's been all over Boston, New York City, and he's going to drop some knowledge on us, so stick around.
It's all messed up, yeah, everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.
What's up, everybody? Michael Huckabee here, and I got Tommy Morin in the house with me. Tommy, how's it?
Brother, I am so excited to be here, man. Face to face with you. I mean, how cool is I'm on the Malcolm. I'm on the Michael Halcomb show, the Malcolm show. Halcomb in the middle. All right.
Yes.
This is how excited I am. I don't even know what show I'm doing right now. That's how thrilled I am to be with you. This is awesome, man. Thank you so much, by the way, for asking me to do this. Seriously, we have been having conversations now for over a year, and I am so jacked to be with you here tonight. I'm honored. I'm honored that you asked me to be a part of this. I really mean that. I know you only have 2 listeners and 7 followers. And you got like 6 people living in your house, but it's an honor. No, for real, it's an honor to be here tonight. I cannot thank you. Really appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, man, it's been good. We have been talking for a while, and in fact, when I first reached out to you, dude, like a year ago, I was about coming on the podcast. So it took a little while, but that's all good. And we've had many talks since then.
And I forgot that you asked me to be on the podcast. So this whole time, I'm like seeing your podcast drop, and I'm like, how come this guy doesn't ask me to be on his podcast? Oh, am I not good enough for this guy? This Southern guy who lives in Hawaii now is back on dry land. I'm not good enough for this dude. And then I found out you're like, dude, I've been waiting for you. But, that's the story of my life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, man, I'm eager to get into this. And I know some of your backstory because, like we said, we've been talking a lot, like, over the past year. But like one of the questions that I always ask people in these initial episodes is like, how did you get into stand-up comedy?
Well, I was definitely not one of by the way, just so anybody who's watching or anybody who's listening, I do not color my hair at the age of 63. I want to get that out of the way. A lot of people ask me, and I don't. I have some very good DNA being Hispanic and Italian. So this is the benefit. How did I get started? First of all, I was never that guy who wanted to grow up to be a stand-up comic. Like there's so many people who are like, oh, that was my thing. I knew when I was 2. I knew when I was 3. I made people laugh. And the funny part is my family, we had a huge celebration, dinner, whatever you want to call it, Italian traditional Sundays at my grandparents' house. And it was 20, 30 people every Sunday for dinner, just for dinner. It didn't have to be anyone's birthday. It was just, that was what we did back in the day. And I have pictures of me in the middle of the crowd, surrounded by family members at the age of like 4 or 5, with my grandfather's long coat on, putting on his hat, doing like all these impressions, John Wayne and Jimmy Durante and probably Ed Sullivan and Richard. I was a child at the time. I'm born in 64. So you figure like 69, 68. I'm doing all these stuff that I would see on TV and dropping everyone. I mean, everyone would cheer and applaud, and it was awesome. And I'm like, oh my, this is like the coolest feeling ever. I can vividly remember it. Not exactly, but I definitely remember that like kind of a shadowy moment when I was that young. I got introduced to comedy like most people. You watch a show and something funny grabs you. But I can specifically remember the one guy who grabbed my attention when I was that young was Jonathan Winters. Like immediately, I thought the way he went from character to character was just phenomenal. And as a child, I was in hysterics. And then as I got a little older, my parents every once in a great while would let me stay up to watch the Tonight Show for whatever reason. And I mean, that was like a Pandora's box. And that's when I got introduced to Rickles. And I was like, this is like the greatest moment in my life, watching this dude like hammer people and everyone's hysterical. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this at Sunday dinners. I'm doing the same thing these guys are doing. How cool is that? And then that just kind of became part of my personality, and part of the way I dealt with things was humor. Unfortunately, my parents, at the age of 10, I'm an only child, got divorced, and humor became even more of an outlet for me
Right.
to really be able to communicate, or in a difficult moment to be able to kind of just like back off and say something funny and be that funny guy, that funny kid. And so then that, followed me throughout, elementary, high school. Tom is, and I had the report card that says, Tommy is very attentive, but talks too much.
Right.
Tommy was disrupting the class. Yes, I mean, report card after report card after report card. Same thing, all the way through high school. And it wasn't until later on in my early 20s that I had a dear friend who introduced me stand up. But before that, it was never on the radar. As a matter of fact, I was that kid who didn't know what he wanted to grow up to be. I had no clue whatsoever. At 18, 19 years old, my mom was living on the West Coast, and I would travel back and forth with my dad and my mom. My dad was on the East Coast, mom was on the West Coast, and I was living with my mom for a little while. I got introduced to the Bonanno crime family. And so the Bonannos ran the entire West Coast. And I was introduced to Joey Bonanno Jr. And from there, came back to the East Coast, and I got introduced to some other people who were in some way, shape, or form connected to the Patriarca crime family. And between those two meetings, I found a home, and I had started lifting when I got out of the high school. And I have, again, I'm back to my great genes, through my dad and my mom. I blew up like a balloon lifting weights. And I was this huge, muscular, young kid who didn't know what to do with all this muscle and all this anger and hurt from growing up, having my family being broken up the way it was. And so when the opportunity came to be able to maybe connect and make a new family, they kind of rolled out the red carpet for me. And so I didn't know like a lot of secrets, but I wound up doing different things that were kind of my introduction to what could possibly be my lifestyle. And I was very excited about it, like crazy, crazy, like I fit the bill. I mean, imagine me getting a suntan. I'm like 3 or 4, maybe 5 shades darker than I am now, with gold jewelry and a really nice mullet. And, my shoulders
Ooh.
are up to my ears. Um, and everything is, a soprano original. So I
Mm.
thought to myself, and that was the thing too, is I knew, because of my background, I'm not Sicilian. So my family comes from northeast Italy, a little island called Lucy Piccolo. So I knew I was never going to be like, the next Godfather, but I
Balls.
didn't care. I didn't care. And actually I had no regard for life and my own life. So if I took, took a hit, it's not a big deal. If I took one for the team, okay, whatever, just we go on. And I was very, always searching. I was always wanting to fill something that was innately, extremely hollow within my heart and my mind and my soul. And so when, I'm a great cult follower. If you have something, we joked about this a couple of days ago. If you have something to tell me and it's the truth, I don't even bother looking it up. I'm like, yeah, it sounds amazing. All right, where do we go? Paint myself blue, run down a hill and yell freedom. So so that was my intro when I finally decided not to do that. And that's a whole nother part of my story. But we don't have enough time for that. But when the same people that on the East Coast had introduced me to this possible new life, I wound up making the decision not to go that way. And one of the same guys wound up being my business partner in what we started a comedy team called Cato and Morin. And I can remember his dream was to always be Johnny Carson. Like Steve Cato, he wanted to be Johnny Carson, and I would be his Ed McMahon. And so, as friends, we used to make everyone laugh. So wherever we went, if we went out to a nightclub, if we went to a dance club or whatever, or a bar, we would be the two guys that were cracking everybody up. So one day he says to me, "Hey, listen, you wanna do stand up?" And I'm like, "To do what?" They're like, we'll go in front of an audience. I go, "Bro, I don't got nothing to prove to nobody. Like, I don't have to, like, I'm funny. End of story. I don't need anybody's approval." And so he said, "Come on, come on." He kind of twisted my arm and we worked on a bit. I said, "Okay, whatever." And I was 23 at the time. And, when you're 62, 23, you realize 23, like, I'm just coming out of diapers at 23. And so we wound up doing an open mic in Providence, Rhode Island, which is where I started doing stand up, and at a place called Periwinkle's in what was an arcade, like different stores, kind of really
Wow.
pretty old building, historic building is still there today. The club doesn't exist anymore, but the name of the joint was Periwinkle's. And we wound up having like 3 minutes. I would do like the different characters, aka Jonathan, my Jonathan Winters influence,
Right.
and he would be like man on the street. He'd be like the straight guy going, "Oh, so we're here on the streets live in Providence, Rhode Island," and da 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 da. And I wound up doing these characters. He winds up doing the man on the street thing, and 3 minutes standing ovation. They went ballistic, and I was like, "Hey, this is kind of a cool feeling. This might actually work for me." The next week we went back, worked on another 3 minutes, did the 3 minutes, standing ovation. Went
Hmm.
back the next week, 4 weeks in a row, standing ovation after standing ovation after place was going ballistic. They had never seen anything like it. And so one of the guys who was, I say old timer, he was probably there like, so this is 88. He probably was there, I don't know, 79, 80. And he says, "Hey, you guys, you don't have to keep writing new material. You can do the same. The thing is, you want to work on what you have."
Hmm.
And we looked at each other and go, "No, nobody told us that. What the heck? No, what are the rules? Nobody's telling us the rules." And so one thing led to another, 6 months of just doing open mic. So 6 months, figure 24 times on stage, tops, tops. We entered into what was called the Johnny Walker Talent Search. And Johnny Walker partnered with Evening at the Improv, which was on A&E on Arts and Entertainment Cable. And Bud Friedman, who started the Improv in New York City, winds up having his cable show. It's called Evening at the Improv. So they're actually the first of, let's say, last comic standing, doing this competition, going from city to city to city to city. And so we wound up entering this competition. 106 comics show up in the middle of downtown Boston on a Monday at 9 o'clock. Like, you're talking people that have jobs and people that do stand up on a regular basis, and everyone's awake at 9 a.m. And as you know, that's not the MO for a stand-up comic. Most comics are getting in the door at 9 a.m. Never mind having to be somewhere at 9 a.m. So we came in, out of 106 comics, we came in third
Hmm.
out of 106 comics. And the phone did not stop ringing.
Wow.
And the Bud Friedman, who started it, said to us, "Hey, if you can get a ticket to LA, I will put you on the show. You didn't win, but I will put you on the show. That's how good you guys are." And we're looking at each other going, we're just two ding dongs from Providence, Rhode Island. Like, what good is ever going to come out of Providence, Rhode Island?
Right.
And that was the beginning of a roller coaster ride that went at hyperspeed for the next 3.5, almost 4 years, hyperspeed.
So
So
you,
that's how
I
I got my
mean,
start.
yeah. So you've been in it a while. I mean, with some detours here and there, but
Yeah,
I'm wondering, and you're still doing it. I mean, you've gotten back into it, I guess, in recent
I
years,
have.
right?
hmm
Yeah.
I have in a
So
different way, in a very
what was
different
the
way.
impetus to like? When was that? Like, what was the impetus to like, circle
That was
back
uh,
to it?
that was 2022. Now you got to understand. Then from '92, when I got out of the team, until 2022, I definitely tried to get back into the game. I mean, I traveled back and forth from LA to New York. I definitely tried to get my feet wet again because it was the only thing I was really good at. I barely know how to use a screwdriver or a hammer. Like, I mean, my dad taught me four things, bro. He taught me how to shine my shoes. He taught me how to make my bed. He taught me how to iron clothes, and he taught me how to shake someone's hand and make them feel like they're the most important person in the entire room. That's it. My father did not teach me anything else. So
Mm,
I have spit shine when I have leather shoes on. My
mm,
bed's always made. I do the ironing in my house. I do the when anybody needs something, it's me. They go, Dad, can you iron this shirt? Absolutely. Take me 2 seconds. And I've taught my family, my children, and their friends how to shake someone's hand. And
mm,
that's like I said, that's it. So me going back into the game, I had a day job, and which is a job that I still have now. I do home health care. I do private care. I go into people's homes, and I'm actually a certified home health aide as well. And so I I wound up traveling back and forth, knocking on a bunch of different doors in New York, in LA, and that has been like kind of like a roller coaster. Like there are some years where I really went after it, nothing happened. Then really went after it, nothing happened. Really went after, and I was just like, okay, well, I know I have an ability, I know I have a gift. I just don't know what and how you want to do with it, God, which is
yeah.
God in my life is a whole nother story. So in 2022, I was going back to Providence. I was going to a friend of mine's funeral, a friend of mine's dad's funeral. And I was pulling up on this street in Providence that was near where me and Steve started doing stand up. And I didn't realize it till I got there. And I felt
Uh,
like in my mind and in my heart, I felt like I'm supposed to go back to this place and be a light in a very dark community.
mm,
And my initial thought was, no, I'm all set. I've driven my wife crazy enough. No, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm I'm not really into this right now. And my life is fine. And I remember going back home and I talked it over with my family. I think I'm supposed to go back on the road again. And my family's like, "Oh, what does that look like?" And I was like, I actually don't know what that looks like anymore because being a road warrior, that's not part of my makeup.
right.
I'm all set. I know plenty of guys that are road warriors
Right.
and that have been doing it since the 80s. They're
Right.
still on the road. I'm all set with that. I have nothing to prove. I'm good. So my daughter is in the car about 6 months after that moment when I felt like God was speaking that thing to my heart. It was definitely a God moment for me.
Mm,
And I didn't hear this audible voice. I just felt this impression like I'm supposed to go back.
mm,
The same way Paul, the apostle, went back to Jerusalem. I felt like I'm supposed to go back to my Jerusalem.
mm,
I truly, it was not on the radar. I'm going to my friend's dad's funeral. This is the only thing I'm thinking about. And so when I go home, I share that with my family. 6 months later, my daughter and I are in the car, and she says this, Dad, do you think you're still supposed to go on the road? And I said, I do. And when I said I do, Michael, I promise you, it was within a breath, my phone goes off. Hi, we're such and such ministry, and we're looking for a stand up, and we heard you do stand up, and we'd love to have you be a part of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, what just happened? Just happened to me. And my daughter, who's a volcano, just like her father, goes, you want to know what just happened, Dad? A lightning bolt just hit your car. That's what just happened, Dad. And so here's the kick. They wanted me to do 50 minutes of straight stand up. No ministry, no preaching, no teaching, no nothing. Just 50 minutes of straight stand up. I
mm,
hadn't done 50 minutes. This is 2022. I hadn't done 50 minutes of straight stand up since 92.
mm,
And I did not know if I was going to be able to pull this off, but I did. And it was amazing.
mm.
And so since 2022 till now, it has been quite a journey, quite a
Yeah.
journey. And part of that is I wound up doing Drybar, which was a thrill of a lifetime for me. It was definitely a peak. I mean, I know it's not like it's definitely not a Showtime special. It's not a Netflix thing, but the whole experience was incredible for me
Right.
personally.
Right.
And then shortly after that, I wound up doing the Huckabee show with Mike Huckabee. The show doesn't exist anymore. I mean, we were at the TBN studios in Hendersonville, and my name was on this giant marquee. I didn't even know. My driver goes, "Hey, Tom, you will check so man. Look at your name on that giant marquee." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I get out of the car, and there it is. I mean, it's
That's cool.
massive. It's like Las Vegas style sign. It's huge, and it's probably like seven stories tall. And it's on these posts like a giant billboard. And there's my
Mm.
name going across. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening to me right now? And all of that to say no social media whatsoever, nobody
Wow.
hunting me down. Somebody gave me the number. Um, and it was just one thing after another. When I wound up doing Drybar, the manager of Drybar, who her and I have become dear friends over the past couple of years, said to me, "So who are you? Where are you from?
Right.
Where's your social media? What are you? What's your back like? Totally, because there was an opener, I was the middle, and then there was a headliner.
Mm.
And the headliner, him and I knew a bunch of the same people, and he had been doing it for 34,
Wow.
35 years as well. Yeah, so it was great. That was such a great experience.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that. Well, you've been at it. I mean, you're at it hardcore early on, had a lull there. You've circled back. You're
Yeah.
still grinding now. I'm wondering, man, like I love asking people this question. Like, imagine somebody's watching or listening to this that is just like on the brink of doing stand up for the first time. Like, what's your
Mhm.
best one or two pieces of advice for them?
Know why you're doing it, and it better
Mhm.
not be because I like making people laugh.
Mm.
Know why you're doing it. You need a mission statement of why you're doing it. That's number one. And then number two, and I got this from a wonderful Christian comic by the name of Michael Jr. If some of the people watching you don't know, Michael
Yeah,
Jr.'s been
he's
around
great.
forever, long time. He's fantastic. And it's no longer about taking the laughs, it's about giving the opportunity for people to laugh. And one of the things he said that I fell in love with was if it's only about the laughter and you're only living, not only are you living just joke for joke, but you're living just show for show. And that gets old really fast
Right.
and you'll be on empty. He didn't say it exactly the way I just said it, but something to that effect. But
Right.
but I love the fact, and he did say, I've learned to give them the opportunity, not take the laughter.
Mhm.
And so those are the two things. So find out your mission. Why are you doing this? There's a reason why you're doing this. If it's about your insecurities, if it's about trying to find affirmation, that is going to be an empty. It'll be a circle with a slash. That will be an empty set because it'll
Mm.
never ever be fulfilled, ever. At the height of my career with Cato and Morin, dude, I was closing every this is 3.5 years, from an open mic to you're talking like no social media, no internet, no nothing. This is just grind after grind after grind after grind after grind. And we're closing. My name is on every marquee in Boston and in New York City, the same thing. Every marquee in New York City.
Mm.
And I was the most miserable I could have ever been in
Wow.
my entire existence. I was so depressed and so unhappy. The more fame I got, the worse things I felt about me. So it can't be that that young comic is like, oh, I'm gonna go after this, and it's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna crush every night. I'm gonna kill every night. Well, number one, you're not gonna kill every night, and let's just get rid of that crazy notion. Although it does happen. And those are anomalies. Those are unicorns. I mean, it does
Yeah.
happen
Right.
depending on and for us, Cato and Morin, we experience that on a regular basis. Like I experience standing ovations on a regular, continual basis, no matter where we went, no matter what hell gig we did, no matter what taco restaurant we were at, no matter where we were at, which was like you get spoiled after a while,
Right.
like you're rotten, like a rotten spoiled child. So
Right.
when it doesn't happen,
Right. I've also heard some really seasoned comedians. I think I heard Nate Bargatze talking about this one time where he was saying something to the effect of um he'll go tell a joke and everybody laughs, but he doesn't know now if it's because the joke's funny or if just because people are there to support him and see him. And
sure,
like talking about wrestling with this tension of like, was it actually like did the joke itself work? Or are they just laughing because
yeah.
they're my fans and that's what my fans do, you know?
I mean, when you get to be that big, he's at that level now where the slightest whisper out of his breath,
Yeah.
out of his mouth, people are going to laugh.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the barometer of knowing if it's really working. Yeah, it's off. It's
Yeah.
completely skewed, utterly skewed.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine Eddie Murphy walking on stage after all these years. And if he opened up with, the laugh,
Yeah.
yeah, people would be dying. He didn't say anything,
Mm,
but that would be the response. You know,
right.
even I mean, and then if it is a clever joke, I mean, the Raptors will probably fall to the ground. But
Mm,
but the true like, where does this joke stand? That's probably never going to happen again,
mm,
unless he goes to like, let's say like, the Comedy Cellar, or let's say he goes to an off night somewhere,
right.
and you know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
you'd have to actually work at not being recognizable,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
or walk into an off night, burger joint that's doing stand
exactly.
up on
Right,
Wednesday nights, and there's four people in the audience.
right. I've thought this. I don't know if you've seen that show, The Impractical Jokers. You ever seen that?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and like, these guys are in like season 16 or something, and like
right,
everybody knows them. And so I'm shocked. I just watched an episode of that the other night, the first time in years, and I'm shocked. Like, how did these people they're pranking not know them? Or is it script? Like, what's going on here? Like, everybody's
yeah,
heard of these guys.
right. Well,
But
and one of them is doing stand up now.
yeah, Sal. Yeah.
Sal
Yeah.
is doing stand up, which I'm not sure. I don't know how that works, but
Well, I mean, but it's that thing where like, how I don't know, like everybody knows these guys. Like, how are they still
right,
pulling it off? Like, if you
yeah,
see one of these guys, your radar starts going off that a prank is like, you know, about to follow. I don't know. I'm kind of amazed that they're still able to pull this off. But
well,
yeah,
that's the thing too, is like Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld, they still go to the Comedy Cellar, and the Comedy Cellar years ago was not the Comedy Cellar. I mean, it was the Comedy Cellar, but it wasn't like this coveted place to go
mm,
do stand up. It was just like this hole in the wall, and it happened to be in a basement. Well, everybody knows basement and second floor restaurants fold within the first year.
mm,
That's an absolute fact. You ask anybody in the restaurant business, you got to go downstairs into a basement. You got to go upstairs to the second floor. Good luck. So this club just kind of wound up taking off because other clubs that were premier clubs were closing. And it was just this was their time. The Comedy Cell just became that place. At that time, it was Caroline's, it was the Improv, it was Stand Up New York, it was Catch a Rising Star, and this little tiny hole in the wall called the Comedy Cell. Well, whatever. The idea was to go to Caroline's at the Seaport. It was glorious. I mean, I remember our name at the marquee at Caroline's at the Seaport. I mean, it was amazing. It was incredible. It was like, I do believe we have arrived. We have definitely arrived. This is, so, but now it's that high end. You never, if you're at the Cellar, I mean, you got Gotham now that's doing what it's doing, but it's still not like because they've created an atmosphere at the Cellar,
yeah,
and
right,
that atmosphere is like, we'll let you in if we want to.
right.
But Chris Rock goes there and works out. I don't know when, and since he's did his last show right after the Notorious Slap,
Yeah.
he was in Boston right after that at a club called the Wilbur Theater. And the week before that happened, tickets were $100 a piece. When that happened, tickets went to $1,000 a piece. He sold out 6 shows at the, what is now called the Box Center, used to be the Wang Center. That's 3,200 seats, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
6 shows sold out. Yeah. And his opening line was, "It just happened." Like, he hadn't been in public, he hadn't talked about it. And this is the first time out of his mouth are gonna come words. It's been now over a week.
Right.
Been dead silent. And he goes, "So what'd you guys do over the weekend?"
Yeah, that's a great line.
Lights out. Lights home run. Lights out. So like that laugh that he got from that's a genuine barometer, because you
Right.
don't see it coming. It's a genuine joke.
Right.
Even though it's Chris Rock, he just put all the pieces together and then delivered that line. It's perfection, right?
Yeah, it is.
Pure perfection.
Yeah, I don't think you could have
Yeah.
come up with a better line. Yeah.
No, no. So I mean, I get it. Like with Nate Bargatze or even Sebastian Maniscalco. I mean, these guys have sold out arenas.
Right.
Sebastian sold out Madison Square Garden 6 times. 6 times, dude. Nate Bargatze sold out in Boston, where the Celtics played, TD Bank North, 3 times, doing clean comedy in the middle of Boston. That itself is like walking on water.
Yeah.
And he destroyed.
So let me before we end this first episode, I mean, I do clean comedy strictly, and you're
Yeah.
a comedian as well. Were you working clean early on, or is this like a newer thing, like since you're coming back to stand up?
No, so when I was doing stand up with Cato and Morin, we had innuendo. We dropped a couple of pieces of language here and there, but then our focus was to be on the Tonight Show. That was the goal. And when comics back then wanted to be on television, you were on TV with a squeaky clean act.
Right.
It was like you could eat off of it. I mean, it was squeaky clean.
Right.
But you
Right.
have these guys that are doing clubs and they're dropping F-bombs and whatever other language they're doing, and innuendo or just going for it. And then they're going to make the transition to television almost literally impossible.
Right.
So our thinking was, and all credit to my partner for being really teaching me so much. And he really was the brainchild. People say, "Oh, this one," especially with the team, "Oh, you were the funny one," or "You were this one," or he was an incredible teacher of business as well.
Mm.
Because don't forget, this isn't just like I get to go roll the dice and just go tell a joke. That club you're going to, they're in business to make money.
Right.
So you better be doing something, or you're not going to see the light of day again. This is a business. It's show business. And you have to understand the concept of the business of the show. It is the only way you will remain relative for however long you want to do stand-up.
Mm.
And so if you can reinvent yourself, if you can create this or create that or whatever it is, but you got to understand it's show business.
Right.
So we were like, okay, well, what do we have to do? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to be as clean as we can so that when we make the transition to television, there's no hiccup.
Right.
It's just
Right.
this smooth walk into, like we've been doing it forever. No problem. Well, I don't need an F-bomb to make it funny, because I've been making it funny all this time without it. And so I get to walk into a space that has a parameter around me, right? That I'm right at home with.
Right. 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 Excellent. Well, man, I love that. Well, hey, for those of you watching or listening, we appreciate that. As Tommy was saying, he doesn't have a website. He doesn't do Facebook or Instagram. He's got LinkedIn though. You can find him on LinkedIn, and you can find his Drybar video as well over on YouTube or VidAngel or BYU TV. All these there's a number of different places you can find his Drybar, which is called. Is it called the Manic Hispanic? Is that the name of it?
So my stage name is the Manic Hispanic, Pastor Tommy Morin.
Oh,
The name of the show is the name of the show is called I'm Statin Now.
Yeah,
Statin Now.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard on the statin.
So you guys go and check out his Drybar and yeah, hook up with him on LinkedIn over there. So he'll appreciate that. And for us, head over to michaelhalcom.live, subscribe there. I do a daily comedy blog. So I'm always writing about comedy. I got this podcast drops on there twice a week, but you can get it wherever you get podcasts, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, all the places. Yeah. So dude, it's been great having you on. Only took a year. So hey, but we're gonna do, for those of you watching, listening, we're gonna do part 2, and Tommy's gonna bring a premise or a joke, and we'll try to punch it up. We'll do some on the spot comedy as well. So we're looking forward to that. But dude, thanks so much for coming on. And
brother, thanks so much for having me, man.
yeah, man. For all of you out there watching or listening, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Subscribe, share, like, all the things. We're gonna stop there and say we hope that helps.
It's all messed up, yeah. Everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup.